Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our Killing Eve reaction for Season 3, Episode 2. Don't mind us, we are just clowning around here and discussing your welcome. An episode that really, it could have used more of the clowns. Let's be honest, there's like 3 minutes of this and we saw it in about 200 trailers leading into the season.
Yeah, they really pushed this particular killing that was going to be going on. The clowns, all of that. Yeah, not a lot of payoff, really.
If I was a Killing Eve producer, I would have made it so that after Villanelle shoots Felix's stooge that she's sort of looking after, like a little streamer comes out of the gun that just says bang written on it, or like something like that. Just give me a couple more clown effects, I would have been happy.
Yeah.
This is an episode that it did feel like it kind of moved along at a slow pace for a little bit. It seemed like we were mostly sort of establishing where...
A little bit.
Yeah, this is the thing that if...
This was a slow episode for me.
Yeah, I think a valuable lesson in being around me is when I say a little bit sometimes, I often mean a lot, and for a silly reason I still say a little bit. C'est la vie. Anyway, if you guys do like this video, be sure to give us a like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any other updates.
Yeah, for me, like, I enjoyed the premiere, I think a little more than a lot of you out there. I wasn't really down with the whole Villanelle wedding thing. I thought that was kind of... But this episode, I mean, I think I expected a little more from losing Kenny. I mean, that was a really big loss. I kind of thought things were going to be really moving along here at this point because it raised the stakes so much. And so for it to end up being as slow as it was, I was a little bit disappointed in this episode.
I think it's probably one of these where maybe 2 or 3 episodes down the line we can sort of sit back at it and think, okay, I understand where they're going, but it is also a show that only has 8 episodes. Doesn't really give you a lot of time, and I would have maybe thought that we would kind of get to where we got at the end of the episode with Eve and Carolyn, maybe like halfway through this episode. That way... Because I think inevitably we're building to a point where the two of them are going to have to work together more than they have been more sort of willing to admit.
Yeah, and I mean, I will say this about this episode. It did take us on a very long road with sort of what was happening inside Carolyn, but I did like the road that we went on with her because she has always been somebody who's very stiff upper lip, closed down. You don't really know what's kind of going on behind everything and behind closed doors with her. So to have that moment where she was finally in the car and listening to music and you could see her eyes welling up, no tear, but you could see that it was there, and she was expressing how frustrating it was that she knows that her son didn't jump. She knows that the 12 are involved. And she knows that really without Eve, her hands are tied and she can't do anything about it. She can't avenge her son. She can't find out who's exactly responsible for this. She's just kind of down a hole.
I think it's probably made even more frustrating when you have a lot of other people who are in this investigative space and they're not doing what you would want them to do, and you find yourself sort of clashing with them, and then if you suggest that they are somehow wrong, then it becomes this, oh, you're just making things up out of thin air because this is your son who's involved in all of this, and then you're not believable.
Yeah. And on top of it, it is the 12, so I mean, she had that conversation with Eve where she's like, yes, of course I believe he didn't just jump off the roof, but we're talking about the 12 here, so I have to be really careful of who I'm talking to and when I'm talking to them, which is why I'm here with you, because Eve is really the only person that she knows she can trust in this because Eve is involved.
And the problem here with Eve, of course, is that she has not been down with the business of getting back into all of this, which makes sense given that she was shot and left for dead at the end of season 2.
Yeah.
The circumstances, I think, around how everyone is feeling, they make sense. I think it's just we're used to this sort of rapidly evolving storytelling with Killing Eve, where we really get to a completely different place by the end of the episode. It feels more like we're sort of crawling there versus running there, which is what we were doing at the end of season 2.
Yeah, there are only so many episodes a season, so they normally are really good at packing a lot in any given episode, where it is moving along pretty briskly because not in a lot of time. But this episode was really more about sort of Kenny and everybody trying to get through how they were feeling about it, with the woman that he was sort of hooking up with, having a relationship with at work, his relationship with Eve, his relationship with his mother, and of course his relationship with Yara Greyjoy.
Is that what we're just going to end up calling?
So cool to see her on the show.
Honestly, it took me about... It took me way longer than it should have to be like, oh yeah, that's Yara Greyjoy. I don't know why it is. I think a lot of it... I
love that character, so it was cool. It was just cool.
Yeah, it is... Anytime you can bring anyone from Game of Thrones onto anything, I think like 99% of the time it is highly recommended, and I think Yara Greyjoy is going to bring a lot of enjoyment to Killing Eve this season.
Yeah, it's really neat to sort of see. I mean, we know Kenny was kind of, he had some emotions, but he also kind of knew when to check it at the door. Of course, his mom checks everything at the door. And then you have the sister who is all emotions all the time. We saw that really kind of cool scene with Konstantin, who was she was saying, oh, I remember you, you were the monster slayer that was, sitting there and protecting me, sort of thing, and you also taught me how to swear in Russian, and all these kind of nice little memories.
Yeah, who knew we would have so many interesting emotional connections to Konstantin within like a given episode of Killing Eve. In between that and whatever we want to call that scene between him and Villanelle at the end of the episode.
Yeah, that was a highlight for me. I'd been waiting to see how exactly she was going to react, because I expected it to be a lot like this, where she was going to kick him in the you-know-what and throw everything at him. I thought she may actually just straight up murder him, and I mean, this show would do something like that. So, I mean, he really hurt her, and for her, she felt legitimately betrayed. She doesn't care that it's his family that she was betrayed for. She felt that she should be number one, as she always feels she should be number one. So, I mean, I get what she was saying. I can't kill everybody that betrays me, but this was someone I was kind of worried about.
There are two things that I imagine if I was an actor I would have a lot of fun doing. Number one, throwing random things across a room. And number two, every good actor gets to do this at least once in their career, where they get to go into a room and just like slide everything off the table and I want to do that, but...
Please don't do that here.
I'm not doing that here because it's not, when you're an actor, it's not your stuff. And that is the joy. It is very low stakes. And I think this was probably a really fun scene for Jodie to do. Yeah. And also kind of an important one. We knew we were going to be getting eventually to a moment where it would sort of be suggested that, oh yeah, by the way, if you shoot someone, you probably should check and make sure that they're actually dead.
Yeah, so she's learned now that Eve is still alive. It was Jodie really did a great job in this scene, because she told us so many different emotions within just her face and just a few seconds, sort of from shock to, these tears of, almost tears of relief that she's still alive, to a little bit of joy that, she is still alive. It was really cool.
It speaks to the strange relationship that Eve and Villanelle have, where I think without Eve around, even if she wants Eve to be dead at certain points, it's almost like a little bit of herself feels a little more whole. It's a lot, it all kind of reminds me of the moment in The Dark Knight with the Joker and Batman, where the Joker kind of says that we will continue to do this forever. And that is sort of where I see Villanelle and Eve being out there gives Villanelle something more to kind of fight for or fight against, depending on whatever the circumstances are.
Yeah, and I mean, Villanelle has a lot else going on too, because she is trying to be a keeper, but I mean, Konstantin has now told her, and I think that Villanelle knew this a little bit inside anyways, because she doesn't always take everything for just face value, but that the 12 might have other plans for her, and that it's not to trust exactly what they're giving her, oh, here's this big flashy mansion and, whatever else, and oh, we're going to put you through some tests with this, Felix, who didn't even make it through 2 scenes of this whole show. I mean, she's got to know that it seems a little bit weird to her. I mean, Raymond tried to come and kill her last season. Now all of a sudden they're offering her mansions and a promotion. There's something that's off. And I think Villanelle's just naturally curious. And I think for her, the idea of sort of playing along, seeing where it goes, seeing what they're really up to, I don't think that what Konstantin told her is like a surprise.
I don't think it is either. And I when you are an organization like the 12 and you specialize in doing things that involve murder, I really think if you are involved within that group, you have to think they are not above doing anything else to lie, deceive, or break other laws. So if you are Villanelle, it's got to be lingering somewhere within your mind that there is another game behind all of this. And don't get me wrong, I enjoy the scene of her opening the window in the mansion and doing what I'm guessing is like her
Snow White impression.
Yeah, which I don't know how I feel about a mass murderer pretending to be Snow White, but whatever.
Well, instead of birds flying in, maybe snakes are slithering up.
Yeah, whatever it may be with Villanelle, it was a fun sequence. I enjoyed the Villanelle storyline probably more so than anything else in this episode, just because in Villanelle's own words, management sucks. It is not really her line of work.
No, and that's why I feel like there is a bigger game that she's playing. It doesn't seem like being a keeper is really what Villanelle wants to do. I think she's just kind of like, well, if I can have whatever I want, then I'm going to ask for some complete nonsense so that I can actually figure out what's going on here. Why they're bringing me back into the fold when a few months ago they just tried to get Raymond to kill me with an axe.
If I had to guess as to what's going on in Villanelle's head, I think a lot of it probably is she's trying to sort of find a way to mask what she's going through when it comes to losing Eve, where this wedding, which seems like it's never going to be important ever again at this point, is a part of that. And now I think her trying to figure out what she wants her role to be is a part of that. She's trying to sort of give herself little distractions, and there were some fun distractions in here, but she is a little bit of a wild card herself. I don't think she can be surprised that Felix is also a little bit of a wild card.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to say that, it was interesting of an idea that maybe Villanelle was going to be training somebody. But to be honest, I was not interested in watching this storyline. So when it started getting all messy and he wasn't able to, complete the kill properly, just shooting him, being done with it, let's all move on. I was pretty happy to see that go that way. I'm not interested in seeing Villanelle be a mentor or teach somebody how to kill. I'm just not interested. The only person I would be interested in seeing that with, and I saw it last season, was pushing or manipulating Eve into killing, and we already saw that.
And that was interesting because it's not something that Eve would willingly really want to do, and I think that's what made that so exciting. With this guy, he already wanted to kill. It wasn't that interesting. The only question that I really had in it is how long it took them to get all that clown makeup on, because I feel like that was a very long endeavor.
Long endeavor for a very short sequence.
For a very short sequence that they hyped up relentlessly. Still a little bit disappointed by that, but it was still fun.
So we also have what's going on with, I guess, Kenny's boss. I mean, it seemed that he was looking into the 12. Kenny's now dead. And now his boss is kind of looking into that. I mean, he threw some caution to the wind, called Kenny's phone, knew that Eve was on it, or was hoping that Eve was on the other end of it. He's trying to get some sort of information. I'm wondering what's going on with this boss? Like, is he working lower level maybe for the 12? Is he the person who threw Kenny off the roof? Like, I mean, who is this guy?
If I was to sort of put a theory out there, I think he's involved somehow. I don't think he's the one who physically did the throwing. I think we need to find the thrower at some point this season, but I think he's got something that he is hiding. It wouldn't be the first time that we've seen some sort of vast network where there is, an organization hidden within the organization that may be linked to other organizations. This show, it really pulls at the temptation to just stick on the tinfoil hat and just glue it to yourself.
Yeah, and speaking of tinfoil hat, I saw in our comments, forgive me for forgetting your name, but I'm crediting you, Guy, in our comments here, brought up a really interesting idea about that it might be Carolyn that organized this hit on him, because she asked Kenny, do you want fish and chips? And then Konstantin got a message to go fishing. I don't think it is now after watching this episode. The way that sort of Carolyn is going through this and wanting some sort of, to be able to catch the person who had done it and have some sort of revenge or redemption or closure or something for her son's death. I don't think that she's involved, but it was a really interesting theory. I liked it. So thank you for leaving that in the comments.
It is an interesting theory.
Yeah.
I think it would smash my heart into pieces. I don't think I'm emotionally ready for that to happen.
I just can't. They would really have to sell me on why she would sacrifice her own son. Like, for what? To be able to catch the 12? Is it really worth killing your own children over? I just don't know that Carolyn has it in her.
Well, we'll see if that ends up happening, and if our perceptions are wrong. But if you do have other theories out there as to what happened to Kenny, of course, leave those in the comments alongside everything else you think about episode 2 of season 3. And if you guys did like this discussion, remember to give us a like, subscribe, and you can support us further by checking the link in the description to the store. And we'll see you here next time.